The Galactic Council hall spanned nearly 3 kilometers of radiant crystal and living metal, a structure built to symbolize 10,000 years of interstellar order. At its center sat Freya Chen, restrained by bands of quantum energy that glowed faintly around her wrists and ankles. The restraints were engineered to suppress any known physical or technological resistance. Around her, delegates from over 200 species observed in silence, some with multifaceted eyes, others with pulsing bioluminescent organs, all watching with fascination. "The human will rise," declared Judge Cthulhu, his towering Vakathan frame looming above the judgment dais. His species had governed galactic law for 3,000 years, revered for flawless logic and absolute neutrality. Freya did not move. She remained seated on the cold circular platform, her gaze locked on the judge with unwavering intensity. The hesitation unsettled several nearby representatives. "Stand," Cthulhu repeated, irritation buzzing through his translator. "Make me," Freya replied calmly. Shock rippled across the chamber. In the entire recorded history of the council, no being had ever openly defied a presiding Vakathan judge. They were not only lawmakers, they were enforcers. Their armored exoskeletons resisted plasma fire, and their reflexes surpassed most species' perception. Cthulhu's mandibles clicked, possibly in amusement. "Your species stands guilty of 17 violations of the Preservation Accords. Unauthorized colonization. Extraction of restricted resources. And worst of all, weaponization of culture." "We wrote music," Freya said evenly. "That isn't a weapon." "Your rock and roll," Cthulhu countered, "caused total psychological collapse within the mindful collective. An entire civilization now spends its existence engaging in rhythmic violence." Despite herself, Freya smiled. "Sounds like they finally lived." The judge's skin darkened in anger. "The council has reached its verdict. Humanity will be quarantined within its home system for 10,000 cycles. All human explorers outside the barrier will be executed." A pause followed. "Beginning with you, Freya Chen of Earth." Freya finally stood. The quantum restraints hummed as they adjusted. "And if I refuse?" Cthulhu's laugh echoed like shattering glass. "You cannot. In 30 seconds, your molecular structure will be scattered across space." He never finished speaking. Freya moved. The quantum restraints didn't deactivate, they exploded. Fragments of advanced technology shattered across the crystalline floor, sending shockwaves through the chamber. Every scientist present felt a fundamental law of physics collapse in that instant. Before alarms could sound, Freya crossed 15 meters in under a second. Her form blurred, faster than most recording systems could process. Even Judge Cthulhu, legendary for Vakathan speed, barely registered her approach before her fist struck the vulnerable junction between his head and thorax. The impact thundered through the hall. Cthulhu's exoskeleton, designed to withstand weapons capable of leveling continents, cracked, then splintered, then disintegrated entirely. His body collapsed in sections, each piece striking the platform with a final, wet echo. Silence followed. Absolute and suffocating. Freya stood over the remains, her breathing heavy, knuckles stained with greenish blood. "You shouldn't have threatened my species," she said quietly. The first delegate to react was Ambassador Threen of the Cautious Collective, a slug-like being whose species survived through avoidance rather than strength. He was already halfway to the exit when Freya spoke again. "Sit." 200 species froze. Many of them possessed the power to destroy planets, yet every single delegate obeyed. Chairs lowered. Limbs folded. Silence returned. Freya walked toward the judge's platform, her footsteps leaving crimson marks across pristine crystal. She retrieved Cthulhu's data slate and activated it. "Here's how this proceeds," she announced, her voice amplified through the council's own broadcast system. "The quarantine is revoked. All human explorers receive full amnesty. And the Galactic Council will issue a formal apology to Earth for attempted genocide. A Trillion representative, a floating brain encased in fluid, protested weakly. You cannot dictate terms. You are one individual against the galaxy. Freya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Am I? She tapped the slate. Holographic projections ignited throughout the chamber, thousands of human ships emerging from quantum gates, surrounding the Council's home system. You thought I came alone? She asked. You thought we'd send one of our own without insurance? A young man's face appeared on every display, standing on a command bridge filled with uniformed humans. We're recording everything, he said casually. Freya, want me to explain the antimatter charges we planted on their monuments? Panic erupted. Delegates scrambled for emergency channels. Security forces rushed stations already compromised. The chamber descended into chaos, until Freya raised her hand. Silence returned. We don't want to destroy you, she said, her voice steady yet impossibly heavy. We actually believe in what this council claims to represent: cooperation, shared progress, peaceful coexistence. She stepped down from the platform, walking slowly between terrified delegates. But understand this about humanity: we believe in those ideals on equal footing. Not as subjects. As partners. She continued forward. Before technology, we were persistence hunters. We chased prey for days until it collapsed. We weren't the strongest. Or the fastest. Or the smartest. She stopped at the chamber's center, exactly where she'd been chained moments earlier. But we never stop. Freya turned back to the assembly. Here's the offer. Humanity joins the council as full members, with complete rights and protections. Or Freddy and his fleet reduce this system to debris, and we take our chances with the wider galaxy. Ambassador Threen slowly raised a trembling appendage. And if we agree? Freya's expression softened just slightly. Then you gain us as allies instead of enemies. You gain our music, our art, our innovation. You gain the species that turned warfare into theory, and theory into jazz. She looked around the chamber. You gain the crazy primates who looked at the stars and decided they belonged there. Silence lingered. Then the vote was cast. Unanimous. Humanity had arrived, not in chains, but as equals.